Hello and welcome to the Delicious Recipe. I'm your host, Adele, here on UPRN. And this one I called Tonight There Creepy Pasta. And if you're listening, you can listen along or watch on the UPRN sites. There's the UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, and there is UFO Paranormal Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio. It's done twice. And also on Facebook, there's the Joe Montaldo Facebook site. There's also my site, Del Lessie on Facebook. You can be watching live there too as well. We're also on Twitch, Twitter. Uh, uh, I'm not sure. I don't have anything on LinkedIn right now, but and replays there you can watch as well. SoundCloud, uh, iHeart, iTunes. There's a whole bunch of places. Anywhere that podcasts are played, anyways. But you can check it out on the UPRN site, and then also if you want to become a member, check out the UPRN. One of the ones I just did mention there. Become a member, and there's extra bonus content that you can see, and you can watch past shows there. And there's a wide variety of hosts that are on UPRN, like the one that I have here on tonight. There, Shawn Kelly from the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society. Welcome, Shawn.
Hey, welcome, Del. Good to have. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Well, we did this once before there, and we were gonna. I was gonna try and get Jeffrey Pritchard on there too, so we could have like a three-way sort of conversation here. But it's okay. I got you here. That's which is it's all that counts. So why don't you tell the people out there a little bit about yourself and what the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society is all about?
Sure. My name, like Del said, my name is Shawn Kelly. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I founded the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society in 2006. And what we do is just go out and investigate cemeteries and all kinds of like old places. And we also do clients' houses. We work mainly with the clients. And because at one point in time, a lot of people were afraid of ghosts and spirits. They didn't know what was going on in their house. And when we came around in 2006, we helped people out. We would investigate their house, sit down, try to get evidence for them, and see who the ghost is, and either let it go or, they want to keep it. I was telling Bill earlier that my real occupation is I'm a meat cutter for a supermarket here in Pittsburgh. I've been doing that for 22 years. I'm also the co-host of the radio station here on UPRN Radio, Tuesday nights, Chasing Prophecy. We're on Tuesday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on in Central. And right after that show, I have my own show. It's Into the Night with Shawn Kelly, and I'm on from 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern and 10 to 11 Central. So, if you're not doing nothing on a Tuesday night, check me out, check us out on Chasing Prophecy, and I'll be happy to see you on my show.
Awesome. So I was looking up something here earlier, well, just after I got off of work, and it's funny that you said you're a meat cutter there because that's what I'm just starting my apprenticeship for there.
Cool.
So following in that whole part. But one thing that I was looking up, and this sort of came up through one of the feeds, is that reports of paranormal activity on the rise during coronavirus stay-at-home orders. Have you seen anything like that? That I guess what people sort of noticed a little bit more since they were home more, or noticing occurrences or strange events in their homes, or because they were there was nothing left to do. They weren't going to work. Have you noticed anything like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Due to the coronavirus, we couldn't actually go out to the houses, because you just couldn't do it. But I got a lot of emails, a lot of messages, and a lot of phone calls from people. They're telling me what's going on, and they just needed to get it off their chest, if you know what I mean. and just give them some straight answers. Um, and try to help them over the phone as much as I can. Even to this day, even though they lifted the ban a wee bit on it, people are still afraid to bring other people into their homes for something like that. And that's totally understandable, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, there was a lot of people experiencing a lot of paranormal activity in their houses during COVID.
Now, do you think that maybe this, well, part of the thing there might have been that, well, people are at home, so they noticed a little bit more that was going on. But do you think that maybe because people were depressed or in a sort of a sad state, that maybe that negative energy could have attracted things a little bit more? Because there's always been sort of this theory that negative energy attracts negative entities, and people being in I guess, a pissed off sort of state of mind
Yeah.
because of everything that was happening with shutdowns that governments uh, mandates that were put in there, and then you're stuck there, and then you're worried about bills and stuff like that. Do you think that could be sort of a little bit of a factor?
Oh my God. Yeah, Dell. Honest to Pete. Um, See, all the emotions that you have in inside you. You got your anger. You got sadness. You got um, other types of and emotions going on. Well, emotions, as you know, and Lord, I know that it's energy. Okay, and what happens is, yes, if you release that like negative energy up into your house, they're definitely going to be attracted to it, and that's going to make them a little bit more stronger because they're feeding off that energy that they
Hmm.
have. And oh, most definitely, it is a big it's a big part of why ghosts hang around in their house.
So out of that, there's so uh, do you have any stories of anything that you sort of come by there where you've had any sort of happy ghosts that have been in sort of houses? Because everybody sort of always wants to always talk about the negative, the bad stuff that is the chairs being thrown across the room, the doors, the lights flickering and stuff like that, and that keeps people up at night, and everybody's sort of scared. But do you ever come across anything that's sort of been a happy spirit that's been in the house?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, we had a couple places where basically everybody kind of knew who the ghost was, the spirit was. You know, it was like maybe a grandma or a friend. You know what I mean? And they didn't harm the clients. They just wanted to make sure that they were known. They didn't want to. Um, so they would do playful things like steal their keys and put
Right.
them somewhere else, or um, pretend that they're knocking frying pans off the wall or opening up cupboards. Nothing bad. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to get an investigation where they're happy spirits and not bad. Yeah. So yeah, definitely, we've had some happy ones. The story that really brings to mind to me is it's a marina. A friend of mine, she owns a marina down in a little town called Elkhorn, PA, which is actually Benola, and she has like three or four ghosts in her house. All right, uh, the main one is the captain. We call him Captain John. Um, he was a riverboat captain. As you know, in Pittsburgh, we got the towboats. The towboats go up and down the Allegheny, the Mon, and the Ohio, uh, bringing coal down the river and stuff like that. And he owned that house, that captain, back in the 1800s. And three or four other women ghosts hang out in there, and they're just playful. You know what I mean? They don't. Um, they mess with her a little bit, and Captain, he he's he's let's just say he's sometimes a dirty old man. He doesn't hurt her, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But he's really mischievous, you know what I mean? Not one negative um, aspect to him. Um, it's just that's just a happy place, you know. It just, and I enjoy going down there. If I ever need a break, I go down there, and you know, I'll set up my equipment, the K2s and stuff like that, and I'll just start talking to the captain. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have good chats, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes he don't answer, but I enjoy down there because it's happy and it's safe. Do you know what I mean? I
Hmm.
know who's down there, and it's all good.
So the one part there is that explain to the people out there. It says what exactly is a ghost or a spirit that's sort of here? Like it to me, I was sort of told that it's uh, something that hasn't passed on or forgot that it was supposed to pass on.
Okay. Basically, what is like you said, like a spirit. See, when you die, right? Your shell, your body, it dies, and your spirit inside. Okay, there's a spirit. Now, this is my theory and my theory only. I don't um, condemn on what other people say. What's a ghost in the spirit? But to me, okay, it is like when you die, your spirit leaves the body, and all of a sudden that light opens up. You know what I mean? Where you can cross over. But a lot of them don't want to cross over, okay, because a couple of reasons, buddy. One, they don't even think they're dead yet, especially if they die suddenly, okay. Second one is that they have some unfinished business to take care of, that they wanted to take care of when they were alive. But the third one is, especially if they had a wife. I'll give you an example. You and Lorelai, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you and Lorelai, you do everything together. You're inseparable, the whole 9 yards. And all of a sudden, you die, right?
Yeah.
And Lorelai, she's just out of it, man. She's just like depressed, missing you, crying all the time. Would you leave her in that state of mind, dude?
I think we, me and her sort of talks. This is the like, I guess out of that is sort of a weird sort of situation because I'd look at this two certain ways. Is that there is something we both understand that there's something more out there. I guess a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't understand or don't maybe don't subscribe to it or whatever. And we look at it that this is the time here is supposed to be like a learning thing. So if you're not, because I'm always into the whole part about learning and gaining more knowledge and stuff, and so is
Right.
she. And I think that would be something that would be detrimental to the advancement of my spirit or soul by
Mm-hmm.
just hanging around, right? I
Okay.
wouldn't be I'd just sort of be stuck in this sort of this closed loop where I wouldn't progress any further. So
Right.
I'd have a different view of it than
And that's
maybe
okay.
some other people would.
Right. No, no, that's good. I'm glad you said that. I really never thought about it like that. But I would say, you can go 50-50, 60-40 on that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It all depends on the couple and where their way of thinking is. I'll be honest with you. I am looking forward to it, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
You know, doing it for such a long time now, you know, like my friend Russ said, do they have rules out there? Can they only hunt in one place? Are
Hmm.
they allowed to move around?
Yeah.
So to me, that would be something that I am looking forward to.
See, this actually comes into a good question here. Okay, this Michael Fiera. Hopefully, I said that right there. He's got a couple of things here. I'll post one up here right first. What he said
Okay.
there. We had some stuff happen with us over the years, but my wife's pretty good at getting stuff out. I guess maybe she's a good cleaner.
Okay.
And then he said, I had an entity in my dorm room in Germany, but as time has gone by, I'm not so certain it wasn't a phenomenon involving aliens because it didn't start happening until my friends and I saw UFOs. And then he says, then it followed me home across an ocean. Things continued happening for a long time afterward, but it eventually tapered off.
Huh, that's pretty interesting because I don't know, being on a radio show for close to 2 years now, I've talked to people we have had as guests, and what I have read up on that there are some people that believe when you talk ghost or um, spirits, okay, they're aliens. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, Michael, to your question or your little statement, it could have been an alien. You know, um, I would I would probably need to get a little bit more evidence, but like I tell everybody, Michael, I tell them, if that's what you feel when you first recognize it or see it or hear it or feel it, the go with it, because more than likely it's possibly true.
Hmm.
It's like taking a multiple choice question, right? A, B, C, D, you know, and people usually pass when they read the question and, the letter C pops up. You write C and it's correct, you know.
Hmm.
So, yeah, could have been an alien if that's what you think it was. Yes, could have been an alien.
And I believe I think when we used to do the host chats back before, I think it was Michelle had said there is that spirits can attach themselves to items.
Hmm.
And so maybe the part there with Michael, that maybe this spirit or whatever that he had there, maybe it attached it to an item that he had there from his dorm room, and and he brought it back across with him. And there's been talks there too, is that where you think that you've gotten rid of something out of a house and it'll still follow the family when they move to somewhere else,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, you've come across something like that, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Now, like I told you before the show started, my friend Jessica and I, we went to an antique store, you know, and that's like a ghost haven because you got all that old stuff in there. Okay. I remember one case I did. Um, these people, they bought salt and pepper shakers that were like in the early 1900s or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know what year, but they were old.
Hmm.
And it just seems a lot of crap was happening, because they would put them away, okay, and shit would happen
Yeah.
in their house. But if they took the salt and pepper shakers out of there where they had them and left them on like the table or something like that, it was calm, cool, and collected. Nothing would happen. So yes, I really do believe that Michelle is right that spirits are attracted or attached to stuff that you bring home with you.
Hmm.
So Michael Dell's right. Maybe you brought something back with you from Germany, and I'd get it checked out if it's still bothering you a little bit, brother.
Yeah. And there's another part there too as well, because a lot of these topics there, like Laura Lee goes through into this a lot more than I do, and but there seems to be connections with energies that emanate from the Earth, and especially there's hot zones where whatever magnetics or whatever that is, especially with like up here in Thunder Bay area, we have lots of amethyst and quartz that are
Yeah,
around here, and if anybody has a quartz watch, like one of those things there, quartz, a crystal, there is a good transmitter of electricity. That's how those things work, right? so
exactly. Yeah.
so there's a lot of
Now
energy that
there's
goes
not too
through.
much. There's not too much quartz down here in the states.
Hmm.
Out west, out around Montana and out west, and we're on the East Coast though, so
Yeah.
there's really not so much quartz here. Maybe down in North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, down around that area. But where I'm at, there's hardly anything. It's all slate. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
so I can see we're up in Thunder Bay with all the quartz that even out in British Columbia, way out west. They have all that quartz and stuff. That yeah, the ghosts do feed off that energy. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And yeah, Borley's right. That does give them juice.
Yeah, and there's another part out of this too, is that there seems to be connections to certain areas, and up here we have, I guess, native burial grounds, and you have them
Mhm.
all throughout the states there too. Says
Yeah.
when people came over from Europe and started populating, there was already a culture that was here already beforehand,
Right.
and
Hmm.
then basically the newcomers that came in there basically appropriated and took over the lands and just
Hmm.
built whatever they wanted there, and not realizing what was there because there was no sort of formulated culture that was sort of European culture with their rules and regulations that were there. It was sort of a more free forming or free flowing separate cultures of native tribes that were around.
Hmm.
And I think there was even a story, a movie about Poltergeist that was that where they moved a whole a town. It was in the movie, and they built it right over top of a native burial ground, and that's what caused. I think that was the whole purpose of the story. There was that they had brought forth all these spirits and this poltergeist that happened there. Uh,
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Um, well, I'm glad that you brought up Indian burial grounds because they're everywhere, and they are definitely sacred. Um, Everyone thinks that an Indian burial ground is like bad mojo. You know what I mean? If you walk on it or you step around it or you're around it. And in my experience, Dell, not really. You know what I mean? As long as you go to the burial ground and you give them a gift, and talk to them, and treat them like a human being, they're pretty cool. In fact, I tell you what, they are so badass. They will protect you, from other spirits.
Hmm.
I've seen that. I've had a couple, But if you're crazy enough to go into a burial ground and start causing crap, then you know what? You deserve to get bit in the ass. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So have you come across during your studies come across anything that was sort of really malevolent, like a poltergeist or like a demon sort of stuff into your studies there with the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society?
Oh yeah, yeah. We had a couple. We had a couple. In fact, I got a couple stories on that.
Well, go ahead, share.
Okay. Um, in fact, one was here in Pittsburgh. These two college students and two girls, they decided to play with a Ouija board.
Mhm.
Okay, in their room. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't play with it, and I don't. If you want to play with the Ouija board, get somebody that knows what they're doing. You know what I mean? Instead of grabbing it off the shelf and playing it themselves without knowing what's going on.
Mhm.
Well, they did open up a portal in their place, and um, as they were playing with it, this demon, and I'm going to tell you it's a demon. It was. Um, would answer all their questions. You know what I mean? Like, does this boy love me? Yes. Am I going to get this job? You know what I mean?
Right.
Treating them really nice. And then all of a sudden, one minute later or a couple of days later, the girls are living through hell. Okay. They were getting punched, they were getting scratched. Stuff was missing, stuff was flying across the floor. And we went up there. Okay. And it was terrible, you know. But this is so creepy, and this is such a true story. Um, it's so true that I swear on my father's grave. Okay, and that's how true. And I don't really do that, but it's true. So we found where the dude was hanging out at, right? And I went under and I meditated, and I left and I was fighting this dude, right? And all it was a bad spirit that wanted to become a demon. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, because he was in between demon and almost like a human, human spirit.
Right.
And no matter what I did, we were duking it back and forth. He had his hellhounds out. I don't know if you believe in them, but they do exist. And I had my wolves with me, my spirit animals. Okay, they
Hmm.
were duking it out. It was just like at a standstill. And as God is my witness, dude, I swear to God, I mean, we were going at it for about a half hour, 45 minutes. All right. All of a sudden, right next to where that demon was at, okay, the ground opened up like this, like a hole. And again, as God is my witness, I saw this thing come out. It was big and black. It was like a black shadow, right?
Right.
Snatched the top of the dude's head and pulled it under. And the thing was covered up again. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Oh my God, that was just like, shit. And that was, I would say that was probably the craziest thing that I ever had to deal with. Fighting him, but watching the ground open up next to him, and this black like shadow just came out, snatched him, and brought him back on, and closed up the lid.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the other bad one was that. In fact, it was like around my first or second one. We went out to a place, and this little baby that was in the crib was getting thrown up against the wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, I literally saw it with my own eyes. This baby was in the crib, got picked up and slammed up against the wall. And come to find out, it wasn't so much demonic, but what it was a guy, you know, the baby daddy, okay, but he was dead. And the girl who had the baby, she was alive, but with another dude, you
Okay.
know, and
Was that the dead guys? Was that his kid,
that
or
was his
was it?
kid.
It
Yeah,
was his.
yeah.
Okay.
And I do believe he died in a drug raid or a drug fight. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? By gunshot. And he just didn't want her to have the baby with this dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
So instead of attacking her, he was attacking that baby.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
it was bad.
Yeah. That's just. I guess everybody gets really sad when innocent life, or especially young life, there gets harmed and stuff like that from something that you don't know what's going on. And
Hmm.
but yeah, that's some crazy stuff. I'll go on here with also here. We'll see what Michael Fear. I guess he had another part. What did he say there? Possibly, I hadn't thought much about it. I've seen a lot of UFOs over the years, going all the way back to when I was about 13 years old. I've been writing my accounts down into a journal. Well, that's a good thing to do. The
Yes.
same thing. I write dreams down in a journal there too as well. I started doing that back when I started reading books about this back when I was about 16 years old.
Right.
Uh, and then when he's got, I won't keep a Ouija board and had a bad experience. I never even used it. My friend gave it to me when he moved, and I just put it on my wall. It was a bad idea.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was because, and I'll tell you why, Michael, it was a bad idea is because, your friend probably played with it. And God only knows what came out when he was playing with it. And, like we say, how things are attached, to salt and pepper shakers.
Right.
Spirits are attached to that board, which brings me up thing I want to tell you. What I recommend, okay, here's what I recommend, Michael. If you still have the board, take it off your wall, all right, and go and put it in a box with sea salt on the bottom of the
Hmm.
box. Throw the board on top of the sea salt, and then throw some more salt on it, and then cover it up and tape. Then go out in the woods and bury it under like the oldest tree that you have out there. Okay, dig a hole, put the box in, throw some more salt on it, and just keep it there. Cover it up and just let it go. And the reason why that, Michael, is because what what Mother Earth is doing is that she's bad move, Michael, bad move. But anything that's buried around a tree, um, and it's Mother Earth, like kind of keeps it there. Do you know what I mean, Dell? It
Yep.
She grabs it, and that spirit ain't going to go. And there was a lady girl, a friend of mine in my group, and she had one. I mean, this Ouija board was old, dude. I mean, literally old. and she held on to it. So long story short, I told her, take it out there and bury it, just like I just mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
And she had this old tree out in the back of her yard, right? And this was around late September, okay? And of course, they had a little party. Her and the girls had a party, and they buried it right by this tree, okay? Well, all of a sudden, she sends me a picture in mid-October. When the leaves fall, right?
Yep.
There were leaves all around, except for the place where they buried
The board.
the board.
Yeah.
Not one leaf was on that board where
Hmm.
they buried it. And so we went over, and my brother, before we left, he kicked all these leaves on top of it, right? I mean, it was completely covered. And the next day, I get another picture from her, and it was completely brushed off, dude. No
Wow.
lie. Yeah. Um, and then that same year when she buried it, we had a real heavy snowfall, okay, like in December or something like that. And she took another picture, and under the caption of the picture says, "I can't believe this.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there was snow all around it.
Yeah.
And right where that board was, there was no snow."
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
It's giving off some energy there, anyways, eh?
Oh my God. Yeah.
This
That
is
was,
a thing I want to for Michael here. It wasn't anything special. It was like a Monopoly board that you could get from Walmart, and it didn't even have the little looking glass for it. This is the thing that even if people can make Ouija boards with a piece of paper, they write it all out there. They don't have to. It doesn't have to be a board that you buy from Walmart or from the Kmart or whatever like that. It's the markout, and it's the part of using it, right?
exactly. Yes.
Right? It doesn't. It's the same. It's when you put the symbols on there and you put intent into what you're doing there, you actually create an open doorway. That's what I've been told, anyways. Is that you
Oh,
create,
you're right.
you give it purpose.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. That's why I was found it was sort of weird because I remember this back when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. I remember looking at like the Sears catalog or whatever the for Christmas time there, and then you're looking in the games. It'd be
Yeah.
Scrabble, Monopoly, Doctor, or whatever that was there, or Operation, and then
Yeah.
Ouija board.
I know.
That's what I get for Christmas or whatever. I always thought that was sort of funny and really weird. Okay, and now this is the other part here. That's why it was so surprising when I started feeling like I was being attacked. It came after me in my sleep, felt like I was pretty close to dying there. And I think that's the part there too is that in sleep and REM sleep there, which you're well aware of this too, is that your body goes to a different sort of plane. The dream sleep, and that people dream walk. Some people
Hmm.
feel like they've sort of they're looking at a parallel dimension. There's a lot of different theories about that, but you're also very open and susceptible because you're not cognizant really unless you really train yourself at dream walker or dream awareness and stuff like
Right.
that. But that's where a lot of people end up having these interactions with good good spirits and bad spirits, and that because
Hmm.
you're open, you're attuned, you're not on guard, I guess. Would
Right.
you agree with that there, Shawn?
Definitely. Absolutely. And there's another theory out there. Now, this is a big debate between the scientific field and metaphysical field, right? And in the scientific field, they call it sleep paralysis. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But in our field, we call it the old hag theory, where it feels like like there's like a spirit just sitting on your chest, and
Right.
you can't move. Your eyes are open. You see it, and I guess by all the fear that you have, it's like you can't move, you can't speak, and you're just like in holy terror. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, could it be sleep paralysis? Well, if I talk to the scientist, yeah. But to me, it's actually the old hag where she's sitting on my chest and not moving.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I know people that I've seen this and I've seen watched this in videos. But some of them you can think might be fake, but some of them not. But people have felt like their body has lifted up or they're
Hmm.
raised, and a lot more people have taken to recording themselves while they're sleeping there, and they've uh, some of them have sort of been sort of interesting where cover's been pulled off or their legs been pulled, they've been pulled off the bed, or they've sort of their body has sort of risen up a bit, and it's sort of interesting whether or not whether phenomenon is there, don't know, but also a lot of alien encounters happen while you're sleeping in bed.
Yes, yes.
And
And, because according to Joe, right, you know, I have that RH plus or whatever the hell you want to call
right.
it. And I have O negative blood. So I'm like 68, 69% of the people who get abducted, and, it's funny, I don't think I've ever been abducted, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? But that's not to say, okay, that I was, maybe that thing that was sitting on my test a long time ago could have been an alien looking at me. I don't
Hmm.
know. You know what I mean? Ever since I started the radio shows, dude, my mind has really opened up to different theories and situations.
Hmm.
I never thought of Bigfoot or cryptids or aliens or UFOs or, anything, little people
Yeah.
until I started doing this, especially on this great one, on awesome station, UPRN radio.
Yeah.
Um, and we've had tons of great guests on, guests that are like very popular in their field, and it just opens my mind a lot to different things that are out there.
Well, exactly. There. That's the whole thing about what my show, The Delicious Recipe, is. Throw a lot of things into the pot and see how it tastes at the end. And I've
Right.
whether it's been talk about political things or talk about cryptid things or talk about paranormal things. It's just the whole thing about meeting interesting people, getting their view on life, what their
Hmm.
sort of their reality that they've sort of encompassed through their time, and just getting different information out there. Like, and I don't have to agree with it or
Right.
disagree with it.
Right.
I've just want to just find out what somebody else is sort of thinking, and see what they are how they're sort of viewing their their scope of their timeline.
And
And
that's cool.
I think I think that's important. I think it should be open to other people's theories. It just says you can't. There's a lot of things you can't disprove, and you can't prove it either. And
Right.
it, the big part that I've sort of been going through, well, besides the little people, because that's where I sort of got into that whole part, because I was looking into cryptids, and when I was talking to my neighbor, and she's from a reserve that's just north of Thunder Bay, and I was asking her about Bigfoot. I says, does your reserve, your family and stuff like that talk about the big hairy man that's in the bush and that? She says, no, we're more concerned about the little people.
Oh,
And I went, oh, really? I says, doing the ones from like Ireland and stuff like that? I says, no, no, no. They've been around over here in North America for a long time.
wow.
And then I was talking with another guy from the Xeno Hunters. He's out of Alaska, and yeah, they didn't. He says, yeah, no, we're more concerned about the little people. That's the, and I never really even heard about that. Like I heard about skinwalkers and
Right.
from native tribes and that, and Bigfoot and occurrences and shapeshifters and that. But then
Hmm.
this topic of little people sort of this is sort of a thing that's always been sort of there, but it was never they never really talked about it at all. So I found that sort of really interesting, because I'm interested in history. And I think people are losing their history,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people aren't looking back at things. And I think it's so important that the reason that these stories were there from the past of all these different creatures or different than humans anyways that have been like talked about in stories and songs and written in books, and then rewritten today in books now too, like about dragons and elves
Right.
and dwarves and yeti and Bigfoot and little people, fairies, and all these different things, mermaids, that are written in stories. Like, why would they all be writing about these stories on different continents thousands of years ago when they didn't have the internet back then?
Right.
Like, why are all these different cultures talking about the same thing, even though they call them different names? Why
Right.
are they all have stories of these things?
I personally believe, though, that they do exist. In fact, I know they exist. And I'll share a little story with you. This was a while back. And when I was separated from my wife, I had my son for the night. And where I lived, there was a garden. You know, they planted gardens in this complex, this apartment complex. And one evening, it was in April, him and I were sitting on the bench in the garden, you know, teaching them how to the different plants because they planted tomatoes and weed and not
Mm-hmm.
real weed. I'm talking weeds and but so one night we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we saw these little lights, really bright, little small bright lights, like going everywhere. Right? It was like a little show, like a lightning show, like a zoom, 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 zoom.
Yep.
And and I'm thinking, okay, it's still too early to have lightning bugs here. You know what I mean? Or fireflies, however you call them up there in
Yep. But
Canada.
the fireflies are also greenish color. They're lights too,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
But so afterwards, the next day, we went back out into the garden, and honest to God, there was a perfectly formed fairy ring of mushrooms.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that sealed the deal for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I go prospecting for gold, down in North Carolina or Virginia, you know what I mean? I'm out in the woods, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know, no wind, and all of a sudden you see a bush move. You know what I mean? Ah,
Yeah.
hell, that's an animal, but there's no animals around.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have, see, to me, the little people I'm fascinated with. I mean, um, not like I was fascinated, like I'm fascinated with the ghost at one time. I'm fascinated with the little people,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to learn more about them, you know.
Yeah, and there's a part out of it there too is that if I hate mentioning this guy's name because he doesn't like unless he gets paid money there, but he did this thing called Missing 411,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm not going to mention his name there. So,
Right.
but a lot of stuff there is with people that just sort of disappear. But stories with the little people is that if you follow them and go in there, you sort of disappear into whatever another realm, or it could be another
Hmm.
dimension, and just people just drop off the face of the earth, like never to be seen. And there's a
Well,
couple times where people have come back like 10 or 20 years later,
right.
and but those are all part of this myth and lore and stuff like that. But it's sort of really interesting that all these missing things are all usually around national parks. And also, wherever these national parks is, there's always a military base that's in close proximity to these
Yes.
national parks.
Yes.
So there's sort of a two edged sword there in thinking about, okay, well, we have the stories of UFOs that travel around or that inspect or go around military bases, and you have people that are out hiking in national parks that are close to military bases, and then you have these missing people that are there, and then whether it's Bigfoot or because they all can't be wild animals, and that even comes into this whole part. There is that a lot of people that are hunters. I was a prospector too. I'd done that for many years, and staking mining claims, and even hunters out there, when like people see that they see like Bigfoot or something different, like these are experienced hunters that know what wild game is,
Right.
right? And like a bear cannot run standing up.
No, no, no. I don't think they can they? I'm not from Canada, dude. I don't know that.
No, no, they
No.
can't. They can stand up, but they don't. They move faster on all fours, and I've been witness to that many times,
Hmm.
where I come face to face with a bear in the bush, and yeah, they move fast on all fours. They stand up as just a part about intimidation, but they can't walk very fast on all fours. In the circus, they can stand on a big huge beach ball or whatever, but they're not running like a what's his the guy Carl Lewis or who was the fast Donovan Bailey or whatever whatever the fastest sprinters are. They don't move like the pictures and stuff like that about
Let them bear cats their butts, you know what I mean? But you know what? We're talking about the one guy that we're not going to mention his name on
yeah.
the show. He had a show on, I was watching it on YouTube. It was really, really fascinating because I'm not going to tell where it was at. You know, I'm not really want to get into the backstory of it. It was
Yep.
just a guy went on a hike and he went missing, right? So they found the place where he went missing. And they had this videograph. So there was actually, you know, it was shown on video. But 3 feet apart, okay, the scientists set up some kind of equipment. And did you know that there is a 6-second delay between point A to point B?
Really, eh?
In one section, 6 seconds.
Hmm.
And to me, that's fascinating. You know, all this crap is fascinating, dude. I'm going to get up to Thunder Bay. I'm going to get up in there.
Yeah, well, there's lots of interesting stories up here. Like we have the sleeping giant. There's lots of old, late, ancient lore, native lore that's around here. But we are running out of time there. We probably got about 2 minutes there left. I just got to go and see what Michael Farah said there. Okay, I've seen some videos like that as well. It's always tough to tell whether they're legitimate because a lot of people like making fakes, which ends up hurting those telling the truth, and that's true. I've watched this past weekend. It was I watched that. Guess whatever I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said there was that one fellow that disappeared somewhere in Michigan while skiing, and then he woke up in Massachusetts over a year later after everyone assumed he was dead. He had no memory. And there's a lot of stories that are like that.
Right.
And we're going to close it off with that. Thank you very much there, Michael Farah, for your commentary in the side there. That was very interesting. And say once again there, Shawn, there, where they can check you out there and check out your shows.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Del, again for having me on. You can catch me on Chasing Prophecy Tuesday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time on UPRN Radio 105.3. And right after that show, my show comes on. It's called Into the Night with Shawn Kelly. And that's from 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central.
Awesome. And as you all know that are tuning in and listening, this is the Delicious Recipe here at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central on Thursday nights. And I want to thank you again there, Shawn, for coming in and stopping by. Another fellow host on UPRN.
Yes.
And
yes.
I like to do this is I like to have people that are on the network and get some of my listeners to listen and meet other hosts that are on there, and they can check out their shows as well. Share the fun, share the knowledge, and just share the wealth, I guess.
Yes, share the wealth.
Right. So
right.
Good night, everybody out there
good
in
night.
Ether, and thank you very much for tuning in.